Welcome to the Warning Track Power Hour. I am Dr. Andrew Scaff. He is Dr. Michael Werman, Esquire. On today's show, we'll talk about the recent upswing from the Kansas City Royals. We'll delve briefly into the NBA and NHL playoffs, now reaching the second round in each of those leagues. Maybe talk a little bit about football, post-draft analysis, continuing here on the Warning Track Power Hour. But we'll begin today with an interesting intersection of Mike's worlds here with his history background in the papacy and the betting world. Mike, have you looked into the current odds on potential cardinals becoming the new pope, or do you think this is a kind of disgusting feature of society right now that is not, there's no place for this? What are your thoughts on this?
I think
Being
it's
a being an historian.
I think it seems it's a fairly harmless activity. I think I guess if it was maybe if you thought maybe if you're religious and you thought somehow the odds makers had an influence on the outcome of who became pope, that might be something you'd have be upset with. But I don't think yeah, I think maybe people do bet on who's going to be the new pope, but I don't. It's one of those things that you can bet on presidential elections and stuff like that too. So in Europe at least, I don't think you can legally in the United States. At least all of the betting odds are usually they're from European bookmakers or at least international
Yeah.
bookmakers. So, um,
What
so I
doesn't
haven't
fall
been
under
following it
sports
terribly.
gambling? I think is how most of it's worded, I think, in the
Yeah,
US, right?
yeah. I
From
haven't
official
officially. It's just
bookkeepers, right?
yeah, it's sports gambling. Yeah, I haven't
Yeah.
officially. I haven't been following the official betting like odds lately in the last couple of because it's been almost 2 weeks now since maybe more than 2 weeks since Francis died. I can't he died the day after Easter, which was 21st of April. So we're 6th of May now. So it's been 10, 16 days basically. So he's
Yeah.
been so it's been a lot of time for uh you know that to fester. They see who's going to be the new pope and sort of rumors to spread and things like that. So I don't know how well I can't remember what the odds were in the previous elections. I don't remember if I seem to think that Joseph Ratzinger, aka Benedict the third, Benedict the 16th, um, was not a favored candidate to come through. But then after he won, everybody acted like he was the favorite. So I don't. It's one of those things. I think where sometimes hindsight is 2020. So I don't know if the papabile, the popable ones are usually good bets or not. But I think Francis was seen as a good bet when he won because he was I think supposedly second place to um Benedict when he won. So I don't know.
Hmm. The
But
previous
yeah, but
conclave.
you oftentimes they'll see well in Pope John Paul II, you had a fairly conservative pope, or the one that's a little bit more was a little bit more kind of youth oriented and kind of cool seeming, at least in his younger days. And then you had the more conservative, or at least stodgier Benedict, and then replaced by the sort of more open and liberal Francis. So sometimes it's this pendulum swing, sometimes it's a continuation, and I don't know which one this is going to be. Um,
There's
I
no
could
clear direction that this is
yeah,
going, right? So
I could see it as or continue with the liberal wing, partly because of the way politics is going. It seems like the right wing is doing well in politically, and I think the church is probably trying to push back against that somewhat. So I don't know, at least internationally, maybe, but within the country, some of the bishops, prominent bishops and stuff are Trump supporters somehow. Although I think it did anger some Catholics when Trump officially put his portrait as Pope on Twitter and on which was just crazy. That would have been a huge scandal if anyone else in the world had done that.
yeah.
But it doesn't get a whole lot of traction in the news. Anything that Trump does is seen as not it seems just incredibly crazy, but it's also not controversial anymore. So it's one of those.
Like it doesn't seem to cost him any points
It doesn't cost
anyway,
him any
right?
point, any votes or any, but it doesn't get covered in the way that something like, because he has so many weird things that go on, so it just bombards you with all of the strange and dumb things that happen. But yeah, I'm
Yeah.
trying. We don't want to getting back to to papal politics. Yeah, it's something I'm interested in. I'm interested to see who becomes the next guy. And I liked Francis. I actually liked Benedict. He was a scholarly kind of guy. So, and he was. And did you ever see the movie The Two Popes
Mm-mm.
with Anthony Hopkins and Jonathan Price? Anthony Hopkins was Benedict, and Jonathan Price was Francis. I think it's on Netflix.
Mm.
Um,
Must have been pretty recent though.
yeah, 4 or 5 years ago. No,
It's pretty recent. I mean,
yeah,
those actors have been around for like
yeah. They
50
were.
50 years.
It's based on they're kind of inspired by their stories together. So it's like a
Yeah.
conversation with the two of them. It was pretty good, I thought. Did you see Conclave, the movie that came out last year, um, or just several months ago now, has also been back in the news. It was a pretty good movie. Did you see that one?
I didn't. I watched part of the what was it, the Jude Law series, the
Oh, the
new
Young
Pope,
Pope.
the
Yeah,
young Pope. Yeah, I think there were
yeah.
two seasons that had different similar names, I think, right?
One was the young, one was the new, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were both. I didn't see
I watched part of that, but I didn't get very
I saw
far
the
into
Young
it.
Pope. I saw the Jude Law one.
Yeah.
Um, and maybe I saw, I'm looking it up.
I don't remember which one was which though. Yeah. I saw the Jude Law. I saw the first episode of the Jude Law season and then
Yeah,
so
I saw the Jude Law episodes. And then I didn't see the new Pope was involved Law returning, and then also had John Malkovich.
hmm. No, I didn't.
Uh, because it started with the Pope ends up going into a coma, I think, in one version of it. So like,
Hmm.
um, mhm.
Hmm. But you do have a history specifically in your degree, right? With some of the history around the papacy, right?
Yeah. I studied the early medieval church and some of the popes, especially those involved in missionary outreach and the conversion process and things like that. So, Pope Gregory the Great, who was Pope around the year 600, that was probably the one I focused on the most. So, yeah, it was a yeah. So I taught a class one year on the papacy when I taught at Marietta College in Ohio, and it was from the papacy from Peter to Francis. So it encompassed the whole period. It was a fun little class to teach. And yeah, I had never done it before. I haven't done it since because I haven't uh,
Was that part of your dissertation then too?
the class or the
Some of
study
that
when I
period in your
yeah when I
work
studied that period, yeah,
studying.
that was part of my dissertation. So yeah,
Yeah.
um, yeah, my it was yeah, my uh, dissertation on yeah early medieval saints' lives and it was called de-emphasizing the miraculous in early medieval saints' lives from 590 to 800. 590 was when Gregory became pope, and then 800 was a convenient ending year, and also the year of Charlemagne being crowned emperor. So it was kind of had that um, bookend to it. But yeah, so I discussed
Yeah.
several popes and looked at their letters and things, sermons, things like that. But and then yeah, so I like the religious history side of things, and yeah, I finished it about the same time. So I was working on it when uh, John Paul II died, and then I was kind of finishing, or maybe I had finished when Pope Benedict resigned. So it was kind of in that period was when I was writing it.
Nice.
But yeah, so I don't know who's going to win. Your guess is as good as mine. I'm sure. I yeah, Yeah, I have no idea. And
But
it's
I don't suppose that you came across any betting lines from your studies of the 5 to 800s
no, they didn't have. I don't think they had betting.
on yeah papal selections.
But the person who the idea is that also you'll hear anyone who wants to be pope will not become pope, but people who don't, well, it's the people who don't want it are the ones who are seen as the most desirable. So if you do want it, you have to appear not to want it, because and so that was a common trope in medieval saints' life. So if you wrote about a bishop or something, they never wanted to become bishop. They never wanted to become Pope. They're too humble and they don't believe, they have too much humility, and so they're overly pious. They just want to live lives of kind of of scholarly and sort of loneliness, and but they're brought in to become leaders of people because they're seen as so great, and they reluctantly accept those titles, and uh, that's that's the usual framework of the story. And so Pope Gregory was like that in his biography, and every other saint basically is like that in their biography too. So they don't want to become pope, they don't want to become bishop, they don't want to become whatever whatever the important person is, and they turn it away or they try to hide, and then like um people find them cowering in like a barn or something like that, and
They're dragged out to become
basically, yeah. There's a famous story of Saint Martin of Tours, who becomes the bishop of Tours, and he was a monk, and the townspeople really kind of acclaim him as bishop, and he runs away and he's hiding in like a um, farm area, and some like goose starts honking where he is and alerts the people who were looking for him to his presence, and that's the kind of miracle goose of Saint Martin. And then traditionally, on Martinmas, which is November 11th, Saint Martin was also the patron saint of soldiers. He was a soldier in the Roman army before he became a Christian. That's why the Armistice Day for World War One was signed on November 11th, because that was St. Martin's Day, and again, of course, it becomes Veterans Day. But on Martinmas, you would eat goose traditionally, because of that story, or maybe the story arose because apocryphally because people like to eat goose on that day. But that was the story that evolved.
if they'd eaten the goose, then he might still be hiding somewhere,
Yes,
even
yes,
today.
yes. So you commemorate the goose by eating it.
Yes, that doesn't seem quite right.
Well, in Christianity, you commemorate the also the death of Jesus by eating, uh, by taking communion, which is eating the body and drinking the blood of Jesus. So in some ways, maybe it's
Right.
a similar
I
honor,
guess.
honorific.
Sure.
But anyway, yeah. So that's I don't know who's gonna win. I kind of want, just because of his name, Cardinal Pizzaballa to win. Uh, but I don't. It'll be
The current betting lines has him fifth. Mike, is that you're looking for a value bet there?
yeah, Peter
At plus
Bautista
800. Is that something
Pizzaballa.
you're looking for, or is
Yeah,
that
that's not too bad.
yeah?
He is
As
the
we
Latin
are.
Patriarch of Jerusalem right now. He's a Franciscan,
Hmm.
uh, and he is, with the he's so he is in Jerusalem now. So maybe with the current Gaza war going on, maybe he's somebody that they would think of as a potential candidate. Um,
Seems like there are also some possible firsts, uh, relatively high on the betting lines anyway for potentially the first Asian pope or the first
yeah.
African pope. Maybe there. Do you think this will be a first something,
I
or do you think
would
we're going to go to a more historical norm?
Well, Pizza Mom will be a return to Italy. Some other guys are Italian uh, possibilities. So it's possible. There have been three straight non-Italian popes after 500 plus years of Italians basically being on the chair of St. Peter. So it's possible they might go back to Italy, but it's also possible they might just this might just be a kind of rotating international thing now, not really an Italian thing anymore. I would say it's
Yeah.
more likely for the Asian Pope than the African. Usually, the African cardinals are usually very conservative, and I don't maybe even more conservative than the European and American conservatives would be. So I don't know if they would want an African Pope, but maybe some of the Asian popes are a little more. Some of the Asian um, bishops are maybe a little more progressive, so um, maybe that would be more palatable. But it would be, I don't know. Um, my guess is not Italian, but I wouldn't be that surprised if it was an Italian that got it back.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there are a few pretty highly uh, liked potential selections there from Italy.
Yeah, I think the favorite right now,
Pietro Parolin,
Pietro
I believe,
Parolin. Yeah,
is Italian because the current Secretary of State for the
kind of.
Vatican.
Yeah, and he's yeah.
So he's already like an insider then. Is that
Mhm. And that yeah, that helps. That helps. Um,
maybe he would be seen as being someone that wants the role though, if there's that close to it
it could be. That could
already.
be.
Is that now that you've mentioned that,
Yeah,
that does that may actually work against him then?
it could.
But we don't know. But
Yeah, I don't know.
anyway, I just thought this was an interesting topic to start with because you actually have history
Yeah.
with this, and in that this was part of your degree in your dissertation, but also uh, intersects with your interest in sports betting.
Sports
So
betting.
that's been an
Yes.
interesting, odd combination of things I did not expect to see anyway.
It
So
was the yeah. Much like one of my favorite movies that is not a lot of people's favorite movie, the movie Godfather Part 3, which involves the intersection of opera, which I kind of enjoy, and papal politics, which I also enjoy. Plus mafia crime stories, which I enjoy as well. So it's got all three of them, which I think is one reason why it didn't do quite as well. And it wasn't seen as good because maybe the church angle and the opera angle were seen as a little bit too esoteric for a gritty mobster film. Um, but
but plays right into your interests
you're right
and
into my interest. So
yeah.
yeah,
So it's
it
like the
what I
movie
don't
was
think
made specifically for
it
you
was
almost.
made. Yeah, it wasn't as good. I don't think it's Godfather 1 or 2, but it wasn't. It also wasn't as bad as people would say it was. Even though I think it was nominated as Best Picture the year it was put out. So,
Yeah.
but the main problem was one. I guess the biggest problem was Sofia Coppola's performances. She wasn't very good as the daughter. Um, and but I thought, yeah, I enjoyed it. It was also in some ways it was over the top, but I I liked it. I like it better than any of the Scorsese crime dramas. I like it better than Goodfellas. I think it was even though Goodfellas I think came out about the same year. The Goodfellas was seen as superior, but I thought Goodfellas was
Yeah.
fun. But I like Godfather Part 3 had was more um I don't know, had more artistry in some ways to it. It was uh, yeah, I liked it better. But I do like Goodfellas. I like and I like Scorsese movies, but it does, none of the I don't think the Coppola Godfathers are better than any of the Scorseses.
Ah,
That's
that's
in
fair.
my opinion. Well, some people like Goodfellas better than The Godfather, which I think is crazy, but I think Goodfellas is still pretty good. But it was not it was I don't know it's a very good movie, but it's no Godfather to me.
I mean, the first Godfather's, I mean, it's basically timeless though. Like it isn't if you watch it now, it holds up. It's not,
Yeah,
like Scarface, if you saw it in the 80s, you liked it a lot. If you didn't see it until like 2015, it's not
Uh-huh.
that good of a movie because
Yeah,
it has aged very poorly.
yeah. I haven't seen it for a long time.
And the music is really bad. Most of the it's pretty it gets very like boring. As we've got very accustomed to a lot more action in movies than what it delivers. And if you're aware of like the big like catchphrase, it doesn't come until like the very end of the movie. So
Hmm.
it's uh it's a little slow and disappointing, I think, for what the expectation is had if you didn't already have it as part of your like nostalgic history.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
The Godfather though, I mean it fully holds up though.
Yeah, I
I
think
don't
so
think
too.
yeah.
Yeah. It's yeah, part I guess part of it, well, Goodfellas was also filmed was it was a movie that was made years after the story is said to have taken place, but
Yeah.
I think I don't know, just the whole the way Godfather was filmed, the colors, the kind of muted uh palette in some ways, and just it just had a sort of sepia soaked
Yeah.
tone to it when it was made. It's just a really good movie.
Well, the music isn't like from the decade that it was made
No,
in. It's
yeah,
fitting for the like the role and the
mhm.
of like the when the movie's actually set. It's not, like Scarface is very 80s like in the
Yeah.
music.
And
It's
Scorsese's movies usually they use, or a lot of them anyway, use a soundtrack of pop music from that era.
period appropriate
Yeah,
music. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, The Godfather had its own score. Nino Roti wrote the Godfather theme, and also Francis Ford Coppola's dad did some of the incidental music to the Godfather movies. So his dad was a film composer, or like a some sort of composer, like a songwriter composer type of person. Um, I can't remember his name. Oh, uh, yeah, Nino Rota did the theme, but it was uh, Coppola's dad did something. He did I can't, I'm just looking up now. Or maybe that was Carmine Coppola. That was his name. Uh, he did some added some music to Godfather, Godfather 2, some of the other Godfather 3, some of the other um Francis Ford Coppola movies. But like music from like the wedding scenes and the like the party scenes, that was a lot of his dad doing. But yeah, those are all really good movies, and uh maybe yeah, hope so. I would recommend to all of our viewers to watch all three of the Godfather movies. Also, if you want to watch, I guess Goodfellas is very good too, as is, and Scarface. It would be interesting just to watch again. But also we should watch the you should watch Conclave and also the Two Popes if you're interested in papal politics of the modern sort. The Young Pope was also interesting, and also there's the Medici shows and things like that. I haven't watched really a lot of, or the Borgias. Um, but those would be interesting as well. Those involve in other papal politics. But
So
anyway,
all of our viewers and listeners have a laundry list of media to catch up on
yes,
that we can discuss in our future episodes.
yeah, we can discuss this in future episodes. We've discussed The Godfather quite a bit
Yeah,
um, on this
as we
show.
should,
On
as we
this
should.
show, yeah. Um, uh, Speaking of The Godfather and timeless classics. Andy Reid's Chiefs have completed their draft, now entering the kind of mini camp season. Any news of note in your world to talk about the Chiefs, or are we just leaving the Chiefs as a topic for another week? Is there anything that interested you? Any pickups that you saw, or any news or notes?
Yeah,
Stadium movement.
I haven't heard anything about the stadium. I know they made a few pickups, like undrafted free agents right after.
Hmm.
the draft was over, but nothing has stood out as being that shocking or like earth moving. I don't think that I have noticed.
Yeah.
Anything you have
Nothing
seen?
has really moved the needle. I saw the names of some of the free agent pickups, and they've started signing some of their draft picks to contracts, but that's not really news. That's just something that happens over the time because everybody's in a
Just
slot at this point, so there's not a lot of
yeah,
negotiation
it's a
available. But
formality now. It used to be like, some players would not actually sign with the teams that drafted them at one point in sports
yeah,
history, but that's kind of gone
wayside.
by the
Yeah,
wayside at this point. Yeah,
yeah. I guess the biggest note, Chiefs signing in the free agent pool was, I thought, Clemson tight end uh, Jake Brining Stool. Uh, yeah, he was
an
thought maybe.
odd name in itself. But
Yes, he's that was seen as a kind of a draftable prospect and maybe the number one tight end that didn't get drafted. So again, anytime a tight end is picked when Travis Kelce's kind of on his way out, maybe he's seen as the potential replacement. But they still have
successor.
yeah, Wiley and Gray there, and who knows what other veteran they might try to bring in or something like that. So. Uh,
No.
Yeah, but and of course Kelsey is will be there for another year. It seems like maybe he'll retire after the end of the season. Hard to say. Maybe I bet if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, he probably will retire. I would be my guess.
Yeah.
Um, but
There could be a lot of players retiring if they do win another, but you never know.
possibly. You never know. Yeah. Um, well, we'll wait until later in the summer for the Chiefs training camp to begin and for preseason to start, and so we'll see how these new players mesh and blend in with the Chiefs roster stalwarts. And maybe there might be some moves in between now and then, but so it's kind of quiet on the NFL front. It's much more um, active right now in the NHL and in the NBA, where playoff series are going. We're in the second round basically in all the playoffs in the NHL and NBA. Any stories that stand out to you for the NBA? We'll take me to do NBA first and then a little NHL.
NBA is mostly it was pretty chalky, I think, overall. It was just the two LA teams that
Yeah, that was
were
interesting.
ousted, and they were the two better seeded teams that lost. Otherwise, I think all the low number higher seeds uh won every
Yeah.
other matchup.
Yeah, it
So
was the only ones I guess who didn't make it were out. So I guess you could also say out west was a little bit more unpredictable than back east, since
yes.
those are two Western Conference series, I guess upsets. I guess it was only the 3-6 and the 4-5, so those aren't as big.
The mildest of upsets from
Yeah,
the same side of the bracket, anyway.
yeah. So, but it wasn't. The LeBron Lakers series wasn't particularly close, even though they were the three. Um,
Yeah,
but
yeah, they
it's
didn't play all that well, I don't think, in the series as a
yeah.
whole.
Do you have any predictions for going forward? It seems like Denver is challenging Oklahoma City. They've already won the first game, so maybe Oklahoma City is poised to be upset by it. Well, Denver's a team that has been winning the uh, NBA championship the last couple, has been in the finals the last couple of years and has won before.
Just
So
two just 2 years ago, I think they
yeah.
won, but they ousted their coach
Hmm.
a week to go in the season, and then managed to win their opening round series, so they're still alive. And then yeah, now stolen home field advantage from the number one seed Thunder. So yeah, that's interesting at least anyway. But it's only game one, so
Only game one.
who knows how that's gonna go the rest of the series.
Yeah.
But that's the first
And
time they've been tested at all because they just rolled through the first round
yeah, it was a
matches.
sweep. Yeah. Um,
A sweep and by huge point totals. Like the games weren't close either.
so you wonder maybe if just being off for several days is what uh caused them to come out a little bit sluggish or something in the first.
That's possible.
Uh, but yeah, in the uh, NHL, well, I guess we also have the number one seed in danger in the Eastern side. He's also because the Pacers are up 2-0 on the Cavaliers going into game three as well. So both number one seeds are looking a little bit shaky in the second round after sweeping their first round series. So maybe it wasn't so good to sweep. You wanted to maybe lose a game or something here or there,
Yeah.
just get tested. But
Yeah, but down 2-0 as a one seed means you've lost two home games.
mhm,
Also, also it's even more worrisome.
yeah,
They really can't afford to lose anything else, really. They got one
yeah,
more game to give, and that's it. That's all they have.
yeah. Only
A lot of
one
road games to go.
other road games. Yeah. So we have that to look forward to see what happens. And maybe there are some upsets, but I don't think either of us thought the number one seeds were really the favorites to win because they've been doing well, but they don't have in some ways they don't have the name or neither of them had the name or the pedigree uh,
Right.
uh, as ones. Cleveland, has great players. So does Oklahoma City, but they don't have, you know, it's not Jokic. It's not,
Right.
you know,
Well, and the
Giannis.
players that are leading those teams don't have histories of
Mhm.
deep playoff runs with other teams, even
No,
really, right? These
no.
are they
Yeah,
played very well together this year with this team, but
yeah. I think I had predicted the Celtics from the East,
Mhm.
and I can't remember what I said from the West. Did I say the Nuggets, maybe even? So, um,
we didn't make official picks this time, so
no, we didn't make official picks. So, but my guess was the Celtics were going to win the whole thing again.
yeah.
So I think that was what my guess was. But that's looking possible still. They're up 1-0 on the Knicks in the second round. Um, so we got the NBA. Now we have the um, N. I guess wait, you were talking about the Lakers. Oh, we forgot about the Rockets as the number two seed that was defeated by
Hmm.
Warriors.
Oh, what I forgot about that too. Yeah.
Yeah, they won four. Golden State won four. So Golden State was the seventh seed, and they're playing the Timberwolves.
Yeah.
So that's an upset. That was another upset. So I guess out west there have been a lot of
That's a
upsets.
more legit upset. So there are three upsets on the West.
Three
I
upsets
totally
on the
forgot
west.
about that series. That
Yeah,
tells
three upset.
you
How much
how
we've been
little
paying
like that
attention.
I've actually really been paying attention to the NBA
Yeah.
the playoffs, even though they're in the playoffs.
But it's also one of those things where it's not a high seed. It was, against the Rockets, but like who's on the Rockets that, Golden State has the pedigree in terms of the players and the history and stuff like that. And so that seems to
Yeah.
have carried the day. Other than the Lakers, it seems to have carried the day so far for most of the teams. So yeah, the Warriors are up right now in game one over the Timberwolves by 18 points in the third quarter.
There have been some pretty huge swings in some of these NBA games.
Hmm.
So yeah, a big lead isn't necessarily a safe
Hmm.
lead, even in these playoffs.
No.
So who knows?
Yeah,
But
but
I'm not terribly interested in betting on these NBA players because I don't really have a good handle on
no, and
what's going to
yeah,
happen with any of
I don't
this,
really
even
either.
individual series, even. So
Yeah, I feel the same way about the NHL playoffs. I don't really have a good handle. The team that I want to win is the Washington Capitals. Uh, they are the one of the number one seeds, but they are losing 1-0 now after an overtime loss to the Hurricanes in game one of the second round. It's
they did
still, I guess,
advance to the second round, but
they
they
based
got
the
there.
second. It's still possible. Three out of the eight teams of the in the final eight are Canadian, so it's still possible we have a Canadian winner for the first time since 1990-ish.
Yeah, it's like 37 years, something like that. I think was the last Canadian Stanley Cup winner.
It was the Montreal Canadiens in 1992-93 season. So it's been 30. This was
So
33
30,
consecutive years.
32, 33 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long time.
like Le Canadian, yeah, the most Canadian, perhaps the most Canadian of Canadian teams because of their nickname, the Canadians.
So I think last week you did not seem like you were willing to pick a Canadian team to win. Has that changed now that we've finished the first round or fully into the second round?
Well, yeah, I'm thinking right now, if Washington doesn't win, I want a Canadian team to win. So that would be my. So I want the Capitals to win, but then after that, I'd want the Canadian. It's like Ovechkin, and I want him to get another Stanley Cup. So, um,
And the three Canadian remaining teams are spread out across three different series too. They're not facing each
yes,
other
yeah,
in
no one's
this
knocking each
round.
other out. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So there's a at least a somewhat good chance that a Canadian team will advance from the West if especially if the Jets and Oilers advance into the
yes,
semifinal.
yes. And the Maple Leafs right now are up 1-0 on the Panthers. The Maple Leafs, though, however, beat the Senators, another Canadian team, in the first round. So there was some Canadian cannibalism,
Yes.
but
Canada versus Canada.
yes, cannibalism or
Oh,
something like that. I don't know,
there's something there. There's something
something
there.
there. Yeah. Well, we'll keep our eye on that something in the NHL playoffs as well as the NBA playoffs, and by in a week or two, we'll have the semifinal matches, the conference finals, and that's kind of when really things start to heat up for us, especially as sort of casual NBA, NHL fans. We would consider ourselves to be more than just casual Kansas City Royals fans, and the Royals
Absolutely.
have been rewarding our more devoted selves over the last couple of weeks. They've won 13 out of their last 15 games. They're now 21-16 on the season. That six-game losing streak or whatever it was seems to be in a distant memory at this point now that the Royals are kind of clicking on all cylinders. Maybe because they're playing teams that aren't quite as good, but maybe the teams just don't look as good because they're playing against the Royals. So um, yeah, the Royals are what is the secret to the Royals' success been? Has it been improved hitting or pitching, or is it simply addition by subtraction, getting rid of MJ Melendez, or putting him back in Omaha, working on his technique? What's been the Royals' secret, or is it just kind of dumb luck because they still aren't scoring? At least most games they aren't scoring a ton of runs. They did
Well,
have 7 home runs in one game against the Royals record against Baltimore. They took 2 out of 3 against Baltimore. Um,
yeah. That
in
was a team
Baltimore.
record, 7 home runs,
Yeah.
and a league tying 10 solo home runs combined between the two teams. That would you have guessed that was a record that was even
10
tracked
solo home runs. Yeah.
between the two teams? Yeah, combined for 10 solo home runs.
That's a
There was
lot.
an
Yeah.
11th home run that was a late home run by the Royals that was a two-run, Massey hit a two-run home run,
Two-run
two-run
home
homer.
run.
There was one additional home run that
That would be
was
crazy if they were all so if there were 10 and only 10 home runs and they were all solo.
exactly 10
That would
also.
have been an interesting record. But yeah, what do you,
That
what's the
was
Royal?
that was a pretty
How are the
crazy game.
Royals? Yeah, how are the Royals succeeding? Is it managing? I don't know if you think it's the managing. Is it
Well, there is something to the Melendez demotion that may have also had an effect on management, though, because management of the games because Melendez had been being moved around a lot, which created some weird scenarios where like Melendez, they're just trying to keep Melendez in the lineup, so they'd play him in left, they'd play him in right, they'd DH him occasionally. Where he probably shouldn't have been in the lineup at all. But I think creating those scenarios where he's playing and maybe displacing another player may have had more than the effect on just him, but also the players that he's displacing at the same time. But the Royals' recent success has come almost exactly coinciding with Melendez's demotion. Uh, with Melendez, the team was 8-13, scoring 2.8 runs a game, giving up 4.1 runs a game. Since then, they're 13-3, and and they're scoring 4.1 runs a game now, so up 1.3 runs. But they've also improved their defense. They're down 1.8 runs a game allowed since Melendez is not there. Uh, I know he's not a great defender, but I don't think he himself was allowing 1.8 runs a
Yeah,
game. But maybe some of those moving players around has an effect on the defense that maybe they pick up, a little bit here or there. But their pitching's been spectacular in the last couple of weeks. They've had, I think, four shutouts in the
yeah,
last, 8 days, something like that, which is pretty rare to see in baseball now to have that many shutouts.
yeah. And one of those, I think, was one of those games was when Reagan's was out. He had that groin injury. He came back and pitched well. Was the last night, I think. He's
Yes.
leading. Reagan's actually leading the league in strikeouts per 9 innings, even ahead of some relief pitchers. So he's got like I think 14 strikeouts per 9 innings or something crazy like that. So he's striking out basically of every half of all the batters he's pitching. He's playing
And
against.
I
So
think he hit 11 yesterday and threw, I think, just 6 innings or so, which is,
yeah. So
you're
he's
getting you're
had
getting close to two strikeouts every inning. That's pretty impressive.
yeah. And but it was Noah Cameron who replaced him in that game, and I believe, had a no hitter going through into the seventh inning. He had a few walks in the game, so it wasn't
Yeah.
completely flawless, but he only allowed one hit and across 6 1/3 innings or something like that. So
Yep.
and he's back in Omaha now. This just shows how good the Royals rotation has been. So
There was some weirdness around that because they had Reagan's skip a start but not go on to the injured list.
mhm,
Uh, but because they could have had him, just go on the injured list and he would still only miss one start and maybe displace his next start by one additional day to get to the 10-day
mhm.
list. So Cameron came up for essentially 2 days and then went right back down, which makes it look worse, I think, for him. Like, maybe he could have gotten some extra tips from players, stuff like that, if they would have kept him around a little bit longer. But it's a little bit odd though for the team to, not put Reagans on the injured list just so they're not down a roster position while he's out for what the injured list stint is. Because he's not available if he's but he's holding a roster spot, right? So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
in
I guess.
itself is a bit odd, but
Well, I
not
guess you have the
bad.
26 roster. You have 26 spots now on the roster where you used to only have 25. So each individual
Yeah.
roster spot is not quite as valuable, maybe as it once was. It's
Yeah.
so maybe that's a little
They could
bit.
have carried an extra reliever if they felt like they needed to, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but they did not choose to do that though.
Well,
They could have done something else if they
and
wanted.
the bullpen has been pretty solid. They won tonight's game kind of in crazy fashion coming down. They were down 3-1 going into the eighth inning. Scored a run in the eighth, and then won it in the ninth inning, partly because of White Sox miscues, a ball bouncing off a defender's head, a pop up that was lost in the lights, and then a bad uh, another fielding error by the White Sox shortstop, which led to a Bobby Witt go-ahead long single
That also should have been caught.
over the five infielders and two outfielders that
Right.
the White Sox were fielding at that point. So the White Sox are kind of back down to I think they're 10 and 26 this year, so they're kind of back on the pace of their uh, ignominious 2024 season. So, but the Royals keep on winning. It's good to keep beating these teams like the White Sox and the even worse Colorado Rockies, who are on pace to win. How many games are they on pace to win this year? You
Like
calculated
28, I think, which
28 games. Yeah,
yeah, so I think they're on pace to like break the loss record by 17 games, something like that,
yeah.
which is seemingly or with it. No, that'd be no, just only 13 games.
Only 13 games.
Yeah, which is a lot of games though,
Yeah.
right? To break a record by
Yeah.
yeah, in baseball.
So we'll see what happens with that. The Royals are surging still. We'll see how long the Royals surge can continue. Jack Caglione is also surging in the minor leagues. Had a two home run night recently. Was it today or yesterday?
I believe today,
And
Tuesday. Yeah, it's
you said two
first
opposite
multi
field,
home run game.
in two opposite field home runs. So the
Yeah,
oppo power, as they will
yes,
call it.
and
And
well over the wall. I think on both oppo home runs, which is you don't always see, right? Like a lot of
yeah,
times the opposite field ones are like just kind of like punch it down the line or kind of thing, right? Where it just finds the stand. These were pretty well out of the park. Not
yes,
close ones. No cheap shots.
no cheap shots.
He's not messing around. He's hit multiple balls out of stadiums this season,
Hmm.
which is maybe less impressive in the minor league parks of the stadium.
Yeah.
Stadia aren't quite as large, but still
Yeah, it seems like
impressive.
maybe this side of Aaron Judge, maybe he has the most power of any major league
Maybe.
or minor league player. Or um,
And he's already hitting the ball very hard too. I guess I just seen this today actually that one of his hits off of Kershaw was 120 plus miles an hour off the bat.
wow,
So yeah, he's hitting the ball very hard, even against same-handed potentially Hall of Fame pitchers that are on rehab assignments in the minor leagues. Not too bad.
not too bad. Speaking, yeah, we mentioned Aaron Judge. Did you see? Have you been following what Aaron Judge's stats are this year?
I've heard that he's on quite a torrid pace. After starting, maybe the first week was fairly slow, I think, but now I think he's destroying everything, isn't he?
Yeah, his Judge is currently batting 412 through 36 games of the season. Uh,
Yeah, and
and
how far away is second place on
second place
the
is
hitting
also a
leader?
Yankee in the American League anyway. He's batting 350. Paul Goldschmidt is batting 351 this year. So also in they're also leading all MLB. Pete Alonso is third, so he's a New Yorker. On the Mets side, batting 349. Then it's Jacob Wilson of itinerant the itinerant Athletics is batting 341 for fourth place.
The
Uh,
Athletics,
yes. Um,
as they are
Mike,
known this season.
yes, Michael Garcia is and Bobby Witt Jr. each Bud Wood's 310, Michael Garcia's 315. So they're also in the top 10 in the American League.
But
Um,
so far this season, though, Mike, one key stat you can look at to see like what accurately predicts Royals wins is a Michael Garcia multi-hit game. The team is undefeated in
ooh.
those games. So if you see Michael Garcia like picked up a second hit early on,
Hmm.
I think you can pretty much go ahead and mark it down for a
Nice.
Royals win.
Yes.
New
And
thing to watch for.
Michael Garcia and Bobby Wood Jr. are also stealing bases at prodigious rates. Wood has 11, Michael Garcia has 9 stolen bases already this year. Uh,
I think Garcia had three in a game just a few days ago. He's picking them up in bunches.
mhm.
He had
And
two of the solo home runs in that
yeah, that 7 home run game. Yeah.
the seven home run game. Yeah, but he's got some power to him.
Yeah, so he seems like he's really coming along this year. He's been kind of had glimpses of that in previous years, but this is maybe the first year he's really pulled it together as a hitter.
Well, and he's done better since they've had him move pretty seemingly regularly to third base and not flipping between random outfield spots in left or
Mhm.
center
Yeah.
and playing second base occasionally. So it seems like yeah, since they've moved him back to third,
that is the
on a more
SCAF
regular basis. He has played
centric
better.
managing style approach. Get people to know their roles and be consistent with their roles and lineup positions. I don't think you're a big fan of shuffling the order of the batting order really either, are you? Or is that
Well, that's
less important than
for
position?
for a reason. I think if a player is, in an extended slump, like moving them down in the lineup makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
But the constant sort of, just rearranging of the lineup for what? I don't. I mean, it doesn't seem to be much of any point. Uh, I don't mind stacking the lineup, against a particular handed pitcher,
Yeah.
but that's it'd be like there's two or three lineups that you just go between those two or three lineups, not, you know, 80 lineups that are just sort of like randomly selected on any given day, which is sort of how they've been playing for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Actually, going back into the Ned Yost years too, it's kind of the same strategy's been used, bridging these two managers that are supposed to be different, but make very similar decisions,
Hmm.
which I still don't understand. It doesn't make sense to me at all,
Yeah.
especially since one came from the Tampa Rays organization, which is known to be more of a Moneyball style
Hmm.
team and not the traditional sort of go with your gut type of management style that Ned Yost came from, right?
Yeah.
So I don't I don't understand how they have landed on so similar of a strategy.
Well, maybe that just works in Kansas City. We'll see if it continues to work for the Royals as the season goes on. But is there anything else you wanted to talk about tonight on the Warning Track Power Hour, Dr. Scaff?
I think we're just waiting for more interesting playoff action is kind of the main thing, and seeing what
Yeah.
happens with some of the NFL decisions over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, we also, I guess, have the Champions League in soccer. It's going to be the finals. It's going to be Inter Milan, who defeated Barcelona 7-6 on aggregate in the semifinals against the winner of Paris Saint-Germain and Arsenal. Arsenal, I think, is down 1-0 already in the first leg, so they'll play the second leg today or tomorrow, which will be. Played by the time this airs. So we will have our Champions League final soccer schedule, but we haven't really been talking about the Champions League or international soccer. So, but that's since we did talk about international people politics, we can go across the pond and talk about an Italian team may be the winner of the um, Champions League, and maybe another Italian will become Pope once again. It's been a while, I think, for either one of the two to happen. I'm not sure when the last. Uh,
Yes, has an Italian soccer team won in the time that they're since the last Italian Pope.
so the last Italian Champions League team to win was in 2010. That was Inter
Oh,
Milan, won in 2010.
so, yeah, so the same Italian team was the
Yes, name
last
has
one,
been Inter.
or
Inter has
that's in
won
it now.
three. AC Milan has won seven Champions League or European Cup winners, as they were called earlier. Um, and since that, the most European Cup winners slash Champions League wins are Real Madrid, who has won 15 of them.
Oh,
Uh, uh, it's Bayern Munich has won six. That's I think. Uh, Barcelona has won a few, five. Liverpool has won six as well. So they're I think the most successful of the English sides. You might think it was Manchester United, but it's they've only won, I believe, three Champions League, and haven't won the Champions League since 2007, 2008, which I think was probably when Cristiano Ronaldo was still on Manchester United before
Mm.
to Real Madrid. But yeah, so anyway, we have that to follow. And
Have you delved into any of the UFL games, Mike? I believe those are underway now too.
UFL, I haven't watched any of the UFL. I've watched, I guess I've seen parts of their games like in bars or restaurants, but I have not followed the United Football League action. I don't know who's even what are the standings right now.
Nope, no clue. I think I walked by a television that had it on, but I did not spend any time watching it.
Looks like there's a lot of parity. There are four teams tied at the top of the UFL standings of with 4-2 records right now.
I
Uh,
didn't even. I thought there were maybe 3 games in at most.
Actually, the
So
records. So there's two conferences. There's the USFL conference and the XFL
right.
conference. The USFL conference, it's the Panthers, Michigan Panthers, Birmingham, which is odd. Why are they called the Michigan Panthers? We already have the Carolina Panthers. Why is there a team that has the same? Have we talked about that? Why is there a team that's the same nickname of an NFL team? That doesn't make any sense. That really doesn't make any sense.
No, so they really, setting themselves apart as a completely separate league by choosing the same mascot name. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it doesn't make any
Very
sense.
creative.
But they're 4-2. The third place team is 3-3 in both conferences, and the last place team is 1-5 in both conferences. So 4-4-2, 4-2, 3-3, 1-5. Um, and the yeah, I don't know who even is playing for these teams. That's as much as I've followed um, the DC. There are rosters, and I don't think they're really. ESPN doesn't have a lot of information. It has the stats, scores, and standings, but they don't really even have. They do have. They don't even really have box scores or things that you can link to. They have scores, but no like real write-ups for any of the games or box scores or anything like that. So you can't. I
To,
don't know.
to be fair, if they were available, I don't think that it would influence us to watch more of their games, though, either, would it? For you?
No, let's look at. Okay, I'm going to the UFL website, uh, and I'm looking at 2025 league stats. It's on a PDF,
Very interactive.
the
The
league
PDFs.
stats.
The kids of today love the PDFs, Mike. Have you heard that?
Yeah, we have this updated Adobe Acrobat Reader. Um, Rushing statistics. Oh, Kalen Ballage, former NFL player. I see his. Oh, Jordan Ta'amu is leading the league in passing. Former Chiefs backup Jordan Ta'amu, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think he had a futures contract for a
Yeah,
couple years, right?
yeah. He was beaten out. Was he beaten out by Oladokun or somebody, or was
I
it
think
King
I think
Bouchel
so.
maybe, or one of those guys? Um, yeah. So he was on the Chiefs, but he's been the XFL Player of the Year 2023, USFL Passing Leader 2022, also leading the league right now in passing and touchdowns
Oh.
for the DC Defenders.
Hmm.
Although he is only is is this right? He's only completed 50% of his passes, but he's leading in yards and touchdowns.
Wow.
I wonder if there's a misprint there. Um, Matt Corral is also playing a former high draft pick of um, somebody, and then he got traded to the. But then was it the Saints or he got Matt Corral? He quit foot like he went missing for a while. Do you remember that?
Oh, that sounds right.
And
Did he walk away from the Pats or something? Was that what it was?
yeah, so he was waived by the Panthers. Uh, he missed his rookie season, waived by the Panthers, then was claimed off waivers by the Patriots, and I think he kind of disappeared somewhere in between that. I don't see this disappearance being. It's not. They aren't talking about it on the Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Yeah.
Placed on the exempt left squad list by the Patriots September 9th, 2023, after leaving the team's facility
Oh, there
without
it is.
notice, failing to report for 2 consecutive days, then
Mhm.
released.
But then he came back to the practice squad after clearing waivers. So then it was.
No.
But then it was no longer re-signing with the practice squad. So he never. Yeah, it's a little strange,
Yeah.
to say the least.
Yeah, that's very odd.
Yeah. Bryce Perkins, former draft pick as well. Dresser Wynn, remember him with the worst name of any quarterback prospect that we could remember?
Wasn't he like one of the premier prospects from Western Tennessee?
From Western Tennessee, I believe so. One of the better prospects from Western Tennessee over the last few years. I think it was something like that. It had so many qualifiers. It was pretty bad. Oh, Kellen Mond is there. Kevin, former Chiefs backup Kevin Hogan, as well as playing for San Antonio as a backup quarterback. Max Duggan, former TCU quarterback, is in the UFL. Yeah, interesting list. So the quarterbacks are the one names that I recognize. I don't really recognize Kwame Lassiter maybe in the as the receivers. I don't recognize the receivers as much, but the quarterbacks are the story, I guess, for us. Ooh, Generic Prince as well, former Chiefs uh, practice squad guy. He is a running back. He's leading and he's one of the leaders in total yards rushing per game. Kalen Ballage, I mentioned. Uh, Bryce Perkins. Uh, yeah, looks like the rushing. Looks like there haven't been a lot of rushing. Uh, the rushing yardage isn't very high. The league
Hmm.
leader in yards per game rushing is only 52 yards
Ooh, that's really
per
low.
game. Yeah.
So no, like no team is like specializing in running
They're all
apparently.
they're all passing, it seems like. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm. So now knowing this, are you going to tune in to some extra UFL action in the next week?
No, probably not. Maybe I should, but I do like the idea of having football, but it's just one of those things where I can't. I don't know. I can watch the Chiefs and then I can't really spend all my time watching football, or else my other parts of my life would suffer, and I would be, um, you know, it wouldn't be as good. So I'm sure MJ
But
wouldn't
I
want
think
to
they
watch
they do like
football
kind of lose some
40 weeks
steam
a
though
year.
too. They don't go right into the season. Like there's a few weeks off before the UFL
Yeah.
season starts, so it seems like they may have lose some momentum that maybe
Yeah.
they had in the past with starting the league like right after.
Yeah, maybe if they start like league right after, like the week after the Super Bowl, might be a
Yeah,
good do.
I mean that's what they did when they spooled these leagues up initially was they'd start right afterwards, but yeah, now it seems like they delayed a little bit. I don't know if that's some
Yeah.
agreement they have with the NFL or what, but I don't know. It doesn't seem to help
Mhm.
keep people's attention at least anyway.
It kind of like this episode of the Morning Power Hour where we acted like we were going to end the episode, but then we went on from this UFL tangent for a lengthy period, and then kind of contributing to the fatigue of our listeners slash viewers, or perhaps piquing their interest even further because there's more free Warren Trick Power Hour discussion. But this time, I think we will close the show. With our usual sign off. And as it goes, I am Dr. Michael Werman. He is Dr. Andrew Scaff. We are the Morning Trek Power Hour. Please like and or subscribe to our YouTube channel and our podcast, which is available on many different podcast delivery services. We are very happy to have you as listeners and or viewers. So thank you for your continued patronage. And We wish you good luck this week if you're making bets. As long as your interests do not conflict with ours, which we don't really have too many interests. I do want the um, Capitals to win, so don't bet against the Capitals, I guess. Or we also, speaking of betting, we also had the Kentucky Derby that we didn't talk about, where sovereignty defeated journalism down the final stretch. But sovereignty is not going to compete in the Preakness, so we have no Triple Crown winner possible this year. Uh, so that's probably all the horse racing we'll discuss going in. But
It eliminates our betting interests. So
it
viewers
eliminates
and
our
fans of the Winter Track Power Hour, you have full reign over the horse racing
over
world.
the
We don't
Preakness
care.
Stakes, yes, and the Belmont. So we have those to look forward to, and many exciting things to talk about next week. We'll continue talking about the Royals, continue talking about the NBA and NHL playoffs, Chiefs, anything else that strikes our fancy, just like we did today with Papal Politics. Well, maybe we'll have a new pope by next week as well. So we'll see
Possible.
if one of our predictions, any of the predictions came through this time around. But anyway, from all of us here at the One Track Power Hour, thank you for watching and listening, and we wish you a good day.